Yeah, yesterday you were up to the Mishnah on Kuki Dal Amud Beis at the bottom. Is that right?
We're about to start the Mishnah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds
good morning.
good.
Good morning.
Morning. Are the Stibers feeling okay?
I think I'm better than Jonah's this morning, but we're getting better. It's all relative.
We miss you.
And miss you too. Miss being there. Okay.
First word of the Pishtan now. Okay, so it's starting the Mishnah on Kufi Dalad. There's something called Tekanas HaNigzal, and that's the subject of this Mishnah. Basic idea is also known as Tekanas HaShuk, but basically, if someone is robbed, and we have certain circumstantial evidence that they're robbed, and they recognize their items for sale in secondhand, and they say, "Hey, this is mine." And then, or even if they're not for sale, they're not for sale. If they're for sale, you wouldn't need this. They're not for sale. They just see that their possessions are out there, having been sold already. They can take them back, but they have to pay for what they got. So that's the basic idea here. See in the Mishnah, and then we'll talk various different boundaries. They can force some person to sell something they just bought, basically get their money back and have to give it back. So it says Hamakir Kelav Isfarav Biyad Acher. Someone recognizes vessels and his Sfarim Biyad Acher, and someone else says, "Hey, that's my things you have in your house." Yatzelo Shem Geneva Be'ir, and there are rumors that he was robbed. In such a case, Yishavalo Lokeach Kama Nasan. The buyer of the stolen property can swear and say, "I paid $75 for this sefer, whatever it is." The Yitol, and he takes whatever amount. So he has to swear that's the amount that he paid for, but he gets a refund from the original owner. The original owner now gets his thing back. He's going to have to pay for it, but at the very least, he's going to get his thing back. Being lav, and if not, if there's no rumor that he's stolen, lav kol himenu. He's not believed. Not anyone's believed to say that it's theirs. Sha'aniyam could say even if he can say, yeah, it was mine. Maybe makan la'acher. Maybe the original owner sold them to another second party. But lakan zeh himenu, this third party that has them now, maybe he bought them from the original buyer. So the current owner says, I never bought them for you, but maybe there was someone in between who got it with permission. How do you know it was actually stolen? Unless there's some kind of rumor that there was a theft in the city, then he's not believed to say that it's his and take any kind and force him to pay it back. Now, if he wants to pay it back, he can always pay it back. That's fine. Give it back and take the money. He's allowed to, but I'm talking about forcing the buyer to give it back and then get a refund on his money. That you can only do when you have a rumor of city. And we'll see now there's even more conditions than that. When there's a rumor of when the name of theft is gone out in the city, when there's a rumor that he's been robbed, my havi, what difference does it make? Lechash dilna, let's we suspect that perhaps of Ninu, he sold himself, V'niu kamavik shema, and he's the one spreading this rumor that he was robbed. So maybe he sold them, and then he's just trying to spread the rumor so that he'll be able to buy it back. Rabbi Yehuda Amarav Kagon Shabo Bnei Adam B'Sof. So what talking about when we had people come into his house, the Amad V'Hifkin B'Laylam, and they stood up and they're shouting at night. And they're saying, he starts shouting in the middle of the night, my vessels were stolen. He says, well, if he's trying to fake it, kosherin ilamatza. Certainly he has an opportunity. Is there opportunity there to fake it? It's meaning he sold it and he's just coming with a plan. That's why he's getting him screaming in the night just to make people believe him. But really, there's no proof there. So Rav Guna Masayim Mishmei Rav. Yohanan says the name of Rav. No, there's a tunnel dug into his house. And there are people who are in his house in the night. Yatu, they would see him coming out, and they're carrying bags of vessels on their shoulders. Everyone says, this guy's things were stolen. And when it says that's still not enough. It says in the Mishnah says vessels and tzvarim were stolen. So maybe they stole vessels, maybe they didn't steal tzvarim. How do you know there's tzvarim that were stolen? Then the rumor that people say that people saw him running out and say, wow, his vessels and his tzvarim were stolen. And why don't we suspect Dilma Zutri, Vikatain Raveri? Maybe they're small things. He's saying big, more expensive items. Yossi Barchinina, the Kamri Saver Ploni Ploni. No, the people who spread the rumor, they say we saw this and this get stolen. The Dimahava Tiki, and maybe the same saver, maybe the ones that were stolen were old and not worth as much. Vikatain Khati, and he claims the new ones in good shape. Rav says, look at it and say, these are the vessels of this person. This guy is Rab, and these are his vessels. These are this person's svarim. And we're asking, did Rav really say that you have to pay it back if there's a tunnel? We saw earlier in the Masechta, Rav said, so not this Masechta in heaven, not something else, or something else I'm running. But Rav said, someone who's coming in the tunnel, the rule is if someone is breaking into a house, and the assumption is that if the owner catches him breaking in, the owner will use lethal force. That's just human nature. That's human psychology. You see someone breaking in a house, you're going to use lethal force. There's at first there wouldn't be permission. However, because thieves know that the owners are willing to use lethal force, they're coming and saying, so I'll use lethal force too. Therefore, it's considered that the thief is the one that started. The thief is considered to be coming with malicious intent, with deadly intent. Therefore, that enables the owner to actually use lethal force. So if the owner weren't planning to use lethal force, he wouldn't be allowed to use lethal force. Because the owner is planning on using it anyway, then the thief is planning on using it first, and the thief is the one who started it because he's the one breaking in. Therefore, the thief is going to kill the owner, so the owner is allowed to kill the thief. So there's a general rule: any action you do that you're obligated to a death penalty while you're doing the action, you're exempt from all other legal consequences. So the fact that the owner will be allowed to kill him while he's tunneling in, so if he runs off with money, that he's exempt from paying for it. At least according to Rav. We paskin only if the object that he stole is no longer physically extant. If he sold it, then he doesn't have to pay back money. But the object itself, he does have to give back. But Rav said it, even the object itself. So how can we quoted Rav earlier? So we just quoted Rav. So how can Rav say? Rav said, Rav says, Bav Mater, somebody coming to Kamel with the Kalim, the Kiyotza, and he took vessels and left. Potter is exempt from paying. My time, what's the reason? But Dami Kanani, he acquired them with his blood. The fact that he could have been killed, that means they're his, and he doesn't have to pay it back. My answer is Hani, meaning that's only true. That's only true, like we just said, when he comes through the tunnel. Pikara must have nafshe like tell. In the first place, he's giving over his soul for being killed. Bahani, but in this case, Kevin de lo master nafshe like tell, since they didn't risk their lives, there wasn't a time they could have killed them. No, then we don't apply the halach of makteres of a tunnel, and therefore they would evaluate their back. So right now we've said that this case in the Mishnah is very hard to come up to. Now the Gemara is going to say, and actually it's not so bad. Amar Rava said, Lo shanu, that which we need all these conditions is only true. Ella balabayis asulim kariyah. That's not a person who often sells his things. So the fact that his things are in someone else's hands, that's not such a proof that they're his still. They used to be his, but what does it tell us that it's still his? Balabayis she'enu asulim kariyah, but a balabayis who does not normally sell his things, lo tzarich ledui kolei. He doesn't need to do so much. Or says, Vidilma it speak lasers if his oven. Maybe in this case he was broken and needed money, and that's why he sold it. And now he got some extra money, wants to get it back. Rashi says, still we have a rumor that he was stolen, that you for sure need. So the fact there's a rumor that he was robbed, and he's not the kind of person who sells things, and he can look and say, yeah, these are his, that's enough. You don't need the other conditions. The fact that there's a rumor that he was robbed, and he's able to say, these used to be mine, and the assumption is that's true, because once there's a rumor that it's robbed, there's some indication that it's really true, and that's enough. Okay. New Gemara. Itmar, it was said, a discussion about the following point. Ganav umachar, v'achachu ganav. So let's say we had Reuven owned an object, and Shimon stole it, and then Shimon sold it to Levi. So Ganav umachar, he stole and then he sold, and then we discover Reuven. So right now we're going on the case of the Mishnah. So the owner is trying to get his thing back from Levi, and now we know who the thief is. We know who Reuven is. We have witnesses. We have the potential to extract money from Reuven. So the question is, least the first version of the question is, who can the owner sue? Who is the owner allowed to sue? The owner for sure can get his money from Reuven. Reuven is a thief, and owner can demand restitution from Reuven. Question is, can he? So the Reuven robbed him, and then sold it. Let's say Reuven. I guess Reuven owned it. Shimon stole it, and Levi now has it.
Go to the Levi, and then Levi can get it. Shimon.
So that's the question: does he go to Shimon or does he go to Levi? And then we're going to have two versions of what exactly the question is. The simplest way to look at it is what?
I'm trying to recall how this goes.
Right. The simplest way to look at the first way the Gemara is looking at it is, who does the owner sue? Does the owner sue Reuven, or does the owner sue Shimon? Or the way I said Shimon or Levi? Does he sue the thief, or does he sue the original buyer? So normally we said in the Mishnah, you go to the buyer. That's when you don't know who the thief is. You have no one else to go to, so you can go to the buyer and you pay him and get your thing back. But now that you know who the thief is, maybe you can go straight. Maybe you have to go straight to the thief. Maybe you go to the buyer, and then if you go to the buyer, then the buyer can go and collect from the thief. So let's see that inside. It says, Rav Mishmei Rabbi said, Amar. Rav says the name Rabbi Chia. Hadim Marishan. You go to the first thief. Yochanan Mishmei Rabbi Yanai. Omar Hadim Mashene. No, you're the buyer. Amar Rav Yosef, Folio, they're not arguing. Khan, the one case where we say you go to the second person. Lifnei Yush, when there's no Yush, when the owner never gave up hope, therefore the sale is not considered successful. We've seen before that you need, there's a bunch of different opinions. Let's go with a basic opinion that says you need Yush v'shinui rishus. At least for now. Later in the Amud, we're not going to say it that way. Let's say you need Yush and shinui rishus. Which Yush means the owner gave up hope, and then after that, or maybe not after that, it changed hands. So if the object changed hands after the owner has given up hope, then now the second person is the owner, and then now the original owner can only sue the thief. But if it's not given up hope by the time it changed hands, or at least that he's not given hope at this point even, then he can take it from the second person, say that's my thing you have, and get it back, and then you want a refund. Go talk to the thief. So time of years before they give a hope adina marishini, and the achri years, but after you give a hope adina marishin, then he has to sue the first one, can't go to the second one. Tavayu islahu to Rav Chisda, and they both agree to Rav Chisda. We saw Rav Chisda a couple of daf ago early in the parak that the basic principle is gezel. Rashi quotes it, gezel and yashu bailim va'ach va'achlu ratzmi zegova. That if someone stole something, and someone else stole it from the thief, and the owner did not give up hope, then both parties are considered to be a thief. So he can sue whichever one he wants. He can sue the original thief, or can sue the current owner. Rav Chisda says as long as he didn't give up hope, both parties are valid for him to sue. So Amalei Abai, and Abai says, "V'lo pli," they don't argue. There's not a machlokas here. Hamatanos kahuna l'fnei yush dami. The case of the gifts to a Kohen. Now, there are many gifts to a Kohen. In particular, when we say Matanos Kahuna, in particular, we're talking about the three parts of an animal. There's the roed, l'chaim, and keva, as well as the arm. The keva is one of the stomachs, and the l'chaim is the cheek, including the tongue. So those every time you shecht an animal, you give those gifts to a Kohen. And saying Matanos Kahuna, l'fnei yush dami, the Kohen never gave up hope. So even, in any situation that, not you'd have to have every single Kohen in the world give up hope for it to be giving up hope. There's no way that happened. Therefore, it's not called the give up hope. And they argue there's a machlokas about them. The Tanakh says in the Mishnah, Amarlo, so someone says to a butcher, Macharli me'eshapara, tell me the innards of this cow. And one of the innards is the stomach. So it says, no from the Kohen, but he gives it to a Kohen, and he doesn't take off from the price. So they say, I'll sell you, the animal, inside the animal, I'll sell you $500. I'll buy it for $500. Fine. So he gives him the whole thing, except for the part that has to be given to a Kohen, and he pays the full $500. You don't subtract anything because he's not getting all the insides. Even though he said, I want to buy all the insides, he's not getting all the insides. But since anyway that has to go to Kohen, then you don't take off on the price. Lachin and Mishkan are you bought by weight. Such a case, no sin the Kohen, then you still give it to a Kohen, but you do subtract from the money. He only pays for what he gets. So that's one. Rav says, Lo shana elo shakel atzma. That's if the buyer took himself. Shakel lo tabach, but if the butcher weighed it out and gave it to him, then the Kohen can sue the butcher. So he can sue the butcher, not the original owner. So if the buyer just took it for himself, he's the one who stole from the Kohen. The gifts we're saying there, the butcher is planning to give it to a Kohen. Buyer just came and took it. That in the second, that's where we say the Kohen, the buyer has to give it to the Kohen and lose out on his money. But if the butcher proactively gave it to the buyer, the butcher is considered a thief, and the Kohen should get the money from the butcher. So why do you say? So how you see Rav is saying you get it from the butcher? Why don't you say it goes? If you're saying everyone agrees that if there's no yush, you can get also the second person. Why is Rav saying you get it from the butcher? There's no yush. The Kohanim have not all given up hope. Should be able to go to the second person. The answer is no. It means af dinim matavach. You can also go to the butcher. You have both choice, which is exactly the same as Rav Chisda. It says you have a choice you can go to. And why would you can't go to the butcher? You would have thought Matanas Guna ain't exalus, that the gifts to the Kohen can't be stolen, that because they're an obligation on the animal to be given to a Kohen, even if I take them, I'm not taking, since it hasn't been given yet, it's not stealing their property. I'm stealing an object which is owed. It's like stealing an IOU, like the opposite of an IOU, stealing the owing part of an IOU. If I steal an object with the collateral, so the fact that I have it in my house, but it has if you have a recall on it, then some kind of recall, then it doesn't matter that I stole it; it still belongs to you. So that's what you could have thought, that therefore that you can't go to the butcher. You can only go to the person who has the gifts. That's why I say no, they could even be stolen, therefore you can go to the original. Tamashma came and taught us that you can go even to the butcher. Well, now they're going to ask, Rabbi says they do argue. There is a machlokas here whether you can go to the first person or the second person. But my plea, what are they arguing about? The answer is no, but they're arguing about Rav Chisda. They're arguing on this principle of Rav Chisda. One it says you go to the second person, says you can go to whoever you want, and if you're told not like Rav Chisda, then you can only go to the first person. Azvid Amar says no. Here's what they're arguing. The owner gave up hope after the buyer bought it, and they did not give up hope while it was in the hands of the thief. So first, the thief stole it, then the thief sold it, and then the owners gave up hope. So what are they arguing about? Mar Savar Yish v'Achagash. One of them holds that you have to first give hope and then sell it. Shinushus means selling it, changing domains. So it only works the fact that selling something can let the person acquire it. That only works if the giving up hope has happened before the time of the sale. So Yush v'Achagash Shinushus Kani. Shinushus v'Achagash Yesh Lo Kani. But if he first sold it and then he gave up hope, that is not acquire. Martha, the other opinion, says that you can go from either person. Lo Shana makes no difference that the Yush and Shinish is together, whatever order it is, the second person bought it. That's why you have to go to the first. That's why you have to go to the first person. You have no claim against the second person. Rav Papa says, no, we have this whole debate wrong. The glima, when it comes to the object itself, the glima is literally a coat. The thing but it just means a stolen property. Everyone agrees that the buyer gives it back immediately without getting paid immediately. He can't say, I'm not giving back the object. This is the way Rashi explains it. I'm not giving the object and pay me. No, the buyer has to surrender the object. It's stolen property. You have a mission that says it's Tkanas Nigzel, Tkanas Shuk. There's a decree for the good of the market that you have to give it back. So everyone agrees at the very least you have to give it back. They're arguing whether I said it really wrong. The decree for the shuk is actually a benefit for the buyer. Meaning on a Torah level, if we're talking about before Yish, did not give a hope, the buyer just has to give it back for free and he's going to lose out his money. But if every time you buy property, if it ends up being stolen, you're going to lose it and have to chase down the thief and get your money, it's going to cause damage to the market. the market is going to suffer as well. So in order to encourage market growth and market stability, we say if you buy something, it turns out to be stolen, you didn't know it was stolen, then you get your money back. The question is, do we say Tekanas Hashuk or not? Rav Mishmein Rav Chia Amar Adim Mishon. Rav in the name of Rav Chia said you go to the first person. Dinan Lokeach. What does it mean? The law of the buyer, which goes Zuzi Miganav. The rule of the buyer has to take money from the thief. The law is with Tekanas Hashuk. In this case, where we know who the thief is, we did not apply the general principle of Tekanas Hashuk that you should get the money from the owner. Normally, you get the money from the owner when we don't know who the thief is. Once we know who the thief is, we tell the buyer, you bought it from him, it's stolen property, you're not owed anything, go talk to the thief, get your money from the thief, sue him. But the owner is not going to, the regional owner is not obligated to pay anything. Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Yanai Amar, Rabbi Yochanan, the name of Rabbi Yanai says, Adinim Yimasheni. The law is with the second person. Why? Didn't look at what does it mean? It means the law of the buyer. So the buyer has to gets to take payment. He can say, come give me your object back. We're paying you what I paid for it. Give me a refund. They did make this decree of the marketplace on his behalf, and then the owner wants to get his money back. He has to sue the thief himself. So the question: whose obligation is it to sue the thief? And once the thief is known, do we say that the owner has to sue the thief and get his money back from there? He gets the object back, but he has to pay for it, and then he gets his refund from the thief. So no, the buyer is the one who has stolen property. The buyer has to give it back, and he wants to get money. He should sue the thief. That's what they're arguing about. We'll ask, Rav holds lawsuit about Tekanas Hashuk. They did not make this decree for the marketplace. Rav Huna Tamidi de Rav Hava. But Rav Huna was a student of Rav, so we're assuming he goes with his opinion. But Chanan Bisha, we've seen Chanan Bisha before. Literally, he's known as Chanan, the bad guy. Ganav Glima, he sold the coat. Vizavna, he sold it. Also, they came to Rav Huna. He came in front of Rav Huna. They came to judge him. They caught him. Amalela Hugavra, they told the buyer, Zil Shari Avetichach, go open your purse and buy back your object. So you see that he holds that they did that forced the owner to pay. They did make the Hashuk, even though we know who the thief is. You see that even unlike what Rav said go to the thief. Here he says to go to the buyer. I mean, pay the buyer. The owner has to pay the buyer.
So the owner got stolen from and then has to pay.
Right. Hanan Bishahan, the bad guy, robbed the owner.
Right.
And then he sold it to someone else. So the owner gets his object back, but he has to pay for it, and then he can sue Hanan Bisha and get his money back. Which is the same thing we're saying the whole time. Mm-hmm. So you see from here, though, that he has to pay for it, and then he can sue Hanan Bisha. The owner is the one who sues. Rav in the name of Rabbi Chia said not like that, the opposite. He said that the thief is the one who should sue. Who should sue? Answer is Shani Chanabisha. No, Chanabisha is different. Because he's known he's a bad guy. He doesn't care what the court does. You're never going to collect money from him since the fact that you know he's the one who stole it. That doesn't help you at all. He can get, he's whatever it is. He can get away with things. But since you can't get from him, therefore the buyer shouldn't lose out. When we say the buyer loses out is when we know who the thief is and the buyer has the ability to sue him and get his money back. There's no way the buyer is going to get money from Hanan Bisha, therefore the owner has to pay him. We do apply Tekanas Hashuk in this case. Now the Gemara asks, so I finish off. It's like the thief was not it's like the thief was not found. The fact that we found doesn't do us any good. Therefore, you have to pay. So Amar Rava says, "Im ganam meforsim hu," and if the thief is a well-known thief, everyone knows this guy is the thief in town. Lo sabot Tekanas Hashuk. We do not apply the principle of Tekanas Hashuk that if someone's buying from a thief, that's your problem that you're buying from a thief. You have no business buying from a thief, so too bad on you. You give the object and don't get paid. Go chase down the thief, but the fact you bought from a thief, too bad. But then we're asked about Hanan Bisha. Before some Hanan Bisha was a famous. We say we do get it. The buyer who bought from Hanan Bisha does get reimbursed. The answer is Nahin first on the Bishusa. Yes, he's famous for being bad. He's not famous for being a thief. Meaning the fact that he was selling property, we know he's a bad guy, but we don't know he's a thief. The fact that a person bought it does not mean they're doing something wrong by buying from him, because he's not known as being a thief. Therefore, he should get a refund.
Rabbi, page
Yes.
position, please. Page
We are
number.
on Kuf Tezvav, Amin Aleph, maybe 2/3 of the way down,
Is that
up to the word
Rabbi,
Itmar.
I've only had my first product copy. The number in English, please. Page
115,
115.
A,
Okay.
roughly 2/3 of the way down, or halfway through the wide lines,
First word on the line is.
Vusa.
Thank you.
Lo Meforsan. He's not famous for stealing. Okay, we're up to new discussion. Really, very much related discussion. Itmar, it was said, Ganuv Upara Bechovo. So until now, we've been talking about when someone bought something, so he paid money for his object, and we say give the object back and get a refund. Now we're talking about various other ways a person has stolen property in his possession. The question is, does he get a refund from the owner for that object or not? So he says, Ganav upar b'chova. What if the thief owed someone money? So he stole the property and then paid back with the watch. Let's say he stole my watch. He owes someone else $200. Nice watch worth $200. Gives him the watch and says, now I'm paid up. Turns out the watch is stolen. So the owner comes in and takes his watch back. Does he have to pay the $200 for the watch or not? Now, why would you say not?
Does the owner have to?
Does the owner have to pay? Right, because normally, when someone buys stolen property and you come and take it, they're now on the worse off for it. They spent the money, now they have nothing to show for the money. When you lent someone money and then he paid you back with stolen property, if you lose the stolen property, you're back to the status quo. This guy owed you money. He was only able to pay because they had stolen property. It turns out it wasn't his. So you back to the way it was before you got the money. So that's the question. Do we apply kind of the shuk that you get paid in that case? We're gonna par back. What if he bought something on credit, he paid it off his credit at the store with the stolen property. In fact, we did not. They give it up. They give it up and they don't get paid. To Amri, they said, Lo adaita hanu yavis lei midi. It was not with the intention of this stolen property that you gave him something. I mean, you made the original loan, you made the original credit, not knowing he had the stolen property. Therefore, you weren't relying on it. Therefore, we don't mind taking away from you. You're back to the status quo you were before. Now, what about mashkanta shavi masan b'meya? What if it's worth 200 and they only gave him 100? Also, the kind of shuk. Then yes, then you do. Then you get paid back the 100. Shav b'shav. What if it's equal value? Let me just make sure I have that right. I think that's it. Hold on. Just trying to remember why mashkanda, why if it's equal is a machlok. If it's shava masan b'meya, if it's less than value, they only pays it back. But it's full value, shava b'shava. And why are we? I guess it's not so normal. I'm not sure where the logic here is. I had this last night when I was preparing, but I can't remember now. Sorry. So the question is, but the basic idea is, if he pawned the object, if he took it was worth 200, he got 100 back. In that case, he gets to kind of the shuk, he gets back the 100. B'shava, but if it's worth 200 and he got 200, that's we have machlos. Amar lo asabot to kind of the shuk. Amar says no, we did not have to kind of the shuk. That he does not get paid anything. Then he does get paid back. Let's get the parentheses. Zavina shava b'shava, sold something at face value. Then yes, he gets a refund. Shava me'ava masan, if it was worth 100 and he paid 200, now it's above and beyond that the buyer of the stolen property paid way more it's worth. We don't require the owner to pay double. No, still also what the shuk. Sometimes it will pay too much. That's what the buyer paid, and that's what the owner has to refund him. All these cases, in all cases, the buyer, whoever has it now, gets what he gave for it. except for the case where someone stole and paid off for his debt. He paid off for his credit. In such a case, since that credit was not extended with this money in mind, then he doesn't get anything. He just surrenders the object, and goes back to having a debt. But all these other cases, even though it looks not, that it shouldn't need it so much, but still he does get reimbursed. Let me just think for a moment if I can come up with why shava b'shava, mashkan or shava b'shava. The thief gave it to this person. The person gave the thief its full value. I guess just because it's not so normal. Normally when you take a collateral, you don't give the full value. So the fact that he's giving full value, he shouldn't have done that. Why should the owner lose out? I think that's the idea. Is that normally when you give a collateral, you give less than the face value. So the fact that you gave full face value, say you're wasting your own money. Why are you doing that to hurt me? I think that's the idea here. Okay. Now we have some stories. Avimi bar Nazi, Chamud Ravina Havamazma who gavra arba zuzi. So Avimi bar Gazai, who was a father-in-law of Ravina, was owed 4 zuz from a certain person. Ganav Glima, the debtor stole a coat. Asya Niale. So he paid back his debt with a coat. So then a little while later, he said, "Oh, by the way, can I borrow another 4 zuz?" So, he lent him another 4 zuz. So he lent him 4 zuz, got paid back with stolen property, lent him another 4 zuz. The sofu kuragan, in the end, he discovered he caught the thief. Asa kamei Lavina. So the thief now he came in front of Ravina. So Amar, he said, "Kamai comes to the first payment. That's ganav apar b'chovo." So it comes to the fact that you got paid, your original debt was paid off, and you now getting unpaid. So that's called he stole and paid off his debt. And in case there's no thing on the shuk, so the creditor, that's what was his name? Avimi, does not get that money back. He just surrenders the stolen property, the stolen coat, and gets nothing. However, he doesn't take anything at all. But the second one, I lent him money because the original was paid back. That in a sense, shakal zuzach b'hadar glimi. Then you do get reimbursed for that. The first one you didn't because that wasn't lent based on this coat. The fact that he lent the second time, that was only because I now trust him because he paid me back the first time. Therefore, that second loan was made with this in mind. Because they made a second loan, Ravimi will get reimbursed. Maskivlo Rav Cohen. Rav Cohen has a challenge on that. Rav Cohen said, "No, this doesn't make sense." But Dilma Glima Bahani Zuzi Kama Yavanele. The coat was payment for the first set of money, and it's Gana Bahar Bechovo, Gana Bahar Bekevo. And it's a case of someone who stole and paid off his debt, someone stole and paid off his credit. So he shouldn't get refund on that. But Arba Zuzi Baswai, the second set of money, he trusted him. It wasn't because of this. He trusted him. Just like he trusted him for 4 zuz the first time. The only reason he trusted him is because he got paid back the first time. But at the end of the day, he's the one who trusted. He said, I know you're good for 4 zuz. So he trusted him, and even without the code, he would have lent him 4 zuz in a vacuum. The fact that based in context, he wouldn't have lent him 4 zuz a second time. Okay, but he did not lend him because of the code. He lent him because he trusted him. Just like he originally lent him 4 zuz, he trusted him. So the matter rolled around this. There was a debate about this. It went around. Matil came into Rabbi Abau, came in front of Rabbi Abau. Rabbi Cohen. Rabbi Cohen is right that he does not get paid back anything. He has to sue the borrower who's the thief and get all his money back. There's Shah, it's a name, or at least it's someone from a city, one or the other. Ganav Sifra, he stole a sefer. He sold to someone who's in the city of Papana. Tamnin Zus for 80 Zus. Al Papana, the guy from Papana, Zavne Levar Mechuzah. He sold for some city Mechuzah, but may have Esin Zus for 120. But Sofu Kurganav, and then the original thief was caught. Amar Ba'avai says, Lizil Maridasaf, where the owner of the sefer should go. You have Levar Mechuzah Tamanin Zuzi. You should give him 80. Shagol Sifrei, and he should take his book. V'azla bar mechuzah, and the person from mechuzah, the second buyer, should take it, should go v'shakal arben and take 40 from the intermediate buyer, the one who made a profit on the stolen property. The Gemara asks, must give Rava. Rava says, hold on, this doesn't make sense. Someone bought from the thief himself, who did something wrong, he's buying from the thief. In that case, he gets a full refund. Now, boy, when someone bought it from a buyer, why is he worse? He should get his full refund. Rather, Rava says, Lizel Marda Sifra, the owner of the saver should go, should give the person from the chuzah, the second buyer, 120, show the sifra and take his book back. And the owner of the book should go, should 40 from the intermediate buyer, and 80 from the thief himself, meaning just follow the money. Whoever profit on this book, he should collect that profit back. But he has to pay the full final value for the book, for the safer, and then follow the trail of money back to the original. A new Mishnah, this should sound familiar. We discussed a very similar case yesterday. It says, this one came with a barrel of wine, and this one came with a jug of honey, which is worth more money. The barrel of honey cracked. We'll talk about exactly how badly it cracked, but in the end, it's not so badly. And the other person, the person with the wine, poured his wine. So and he saved the honey. He can only demand money for this time. He can demand wages for a time, does not get a refund on the wine. But if he said, I will save your honey, but you have to pay me back, then he has to pay him. Now, in this case, the person is doing voluntarily. The fact that he's voluntarily pouring out his wine, say he's doing a good deed, he's doing a nice person who says he deserves to get paid back for his losses, that's why he doesn't get paid. The case he saw in the right before where we started today, case he quoted there, that we say is one of the tikanas, that is when the owner of the jug of wine is not around. The owner of the honey pours out the wine himself to save it. Then for sure he has to pay back for the wine. The opinion we saw that there was in the daf that Rabbi Yishmael ben Broka says that he's allowed to do that. That it's like tikana of Rabbi Yeshua that you're allowed to pour out the wine to save your honey, but you sure have to pay back in that case. Evan agreed, right? That case you clearly have to pay, whether there's any agreement or not. You have to pay back because you're the one doing it. When I'm a nice guy and I save your stuff without asking to pay back for my expenses, that's called mavriach hari. I'm preventing you from a loss. I'm not actually giving you benefit if I can't charge you for any of my losses unless I tell you specifically I want you to pay me back for my losses. Similar case, shativ nar. Nachal Chamoro, the stream came and sent his donkey flying downstream. And also his friend's donkey, his neighbor's donkey. Shalyafa money, his donkey's worth 100. Shalver Masayim, and his friend's donkey is worth 200. The guy ran his own donkey, and took and rescued his friend's donkey. And only gets paid his wages for the amount of time he spent. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't get paid back. But he said to him, I'll save your thing, you pay back for my loss, then he's obligated to pay him. Okay, let's try to get a little bit more. This Gemara is very complicated. But we
as opposed to all the others.
Well, what makes this more complicated is there's two versions of the Gemara.
Oh.
And the Bach, we have one version in front of us, and Rashi has that same version. And the Bach comes and says, no, that version's wrong, and let me change all the Rashis to match up with it too.
Oh.
So he completely rewrites it only takes one line of the Gemara, but that one line changes the whole discussion. What is the question? What is the question? I'll probably get you right up to that point, and then Rabbi Rimmer can take a right at that spot tomorrow. So I'm sorry, Rabbi Rimmer, but that's we have 6 minutes, and I want to get time to put on my tefillin, so let me just go a little bit further, and then I'll stop. I'm going to ask Vamai. Why are we talking about giving back the owner getting reimbursed? Why can't the saver say your honey was getting ruined, your donkey was getting ruined? It was ownerless now. This basic principle: something is not accessible, it's getting lost. Whoever salvage rights, whoever saves it gets it. We have kerosene now. He got it from Hefker. Milo Tanya. Don't we have a bride that says Shayaton Kade Yain V'Kade Shemen? Someone's carrying bottles of wine and bottles of oil. Rashi Mishtabros, and saw that they were breaking. Lo yomer, you can't say, let me save myself some money here. Is that truma maiso perish basi? I have a bunch of other produce. I'm going to make this wine and honey trumas, and that way I won't have to give out. I won't have to give up that money to Cohen. I just make this wine and honey to a truma, and it gets ruined. Too bad for the Cohen. You can't do that. If he did say that, lomer klum is not effective at all. So you see that it's not called. As long as he owns it, he can do it. In fact, it's about to be ruined, it's considered ownerless, and therefore he cannot declare it to be truma. Our answer is RRabbi Yomi, like we said, Yomi will tell us a different case later on, give the same answer, so we can apply the answer here as well. Based about when there's some kind of clamp on it. I'm not sure exactly what the ekel based about is, but it's some kind of clamp of the press. It's something holding the barrel together. It's cracked and it's going to fall apart. It's inevitable that it'll get ruined eventually, but right now it's still stable. There's various options I can do myself to try to save it. It's going to get ruined sooner or later, but I have some time to work with. That's why it's not considered a hefker, and when I save it, I don't get to just keep everything. Now, okay, just one little section more. Bim Amar, if he says truma lo or klum, it's not effective at all. Vatani, but it says in the Brayso, Misha Baba Derech, someone's traveling on the road, Mos Biyado, and he has money in his hands. And armed robbers come to hijack him or to waylay him. Lo Amar should not say, I have fruit of Meiser Sheni that I have to bring to Yerushalayim. Should not say the holiness of that fruit is on this money, and that way the thief if the thief uses money, he's going to be over an avera of eating Meiser Sheni outside Yerushalayim. But I'm going to save myself some money. But he said it does work. It is effective. It's Hachamai. This is the case of time. He has the ability to save. He could have saved it. It's not inevitable if people get it. Whereas if he's able to save, then it's not considered loss at all. Then why shouldn't he say it? And the answer is because it take great effort to save his property. So since he's able to save it, it works if he makes it redeems the truma onto it. Since it would take a lot of effort, he shouldn't do it because we don't want the Kohen to lose money. He may not end up saving it successfully, but end up putting in the effort needed to save it successfully. The Kohen's going to lose out, or the Meiser will lose out. So he is not allowed to do that. And we're right up to that Aleph where the Bach makes everything go haywire. So I apologize to Rabbi Rimmer, but you have to start there tomorrow.